Chair calls Bradley Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, thank you for your time today and your long suffering and your patience and your energy. I always notice it's the first day when there's lots of questions and things are going on, and as things go on, sometimes those become less and less. So thank you all for your energy today. My name is Bradley Pierce. I'm the president of Abolish Abortion Texas and the Foundation to Abolish Abortion. I'm an attorney, been practicing for 15 years here in Texas, and from Houston area originally, now live just north of Austin. Our organization, the Foundation to Abolish Abortion, filed a brief in the Dobbs case that's currently before the U.S. Supreme Court, and we look forward, hopefully, to them overturning Roe versus Wade and returning that to the people's representatives, Amen. Which is what the draft opinion says, so hopefully they follow through with that. Unfortunately, even if the court does overturn Roe versus Wade, abortion will not be abolished in Texas at that point. We do have a pre-Roe law that's still on the books from 1973, and we also have, after this last session, we have a trigger bill that's now on the books. However, neither of those will abolish abortion in Texas because there is a giant loophole that both of them still allow, which is, as we've just heard from Christina Harhoff, self-induced abortion or self-managed abortions. That is, mothers basically going to the Amazon.com of abortion pills and ordering the pills and doing it themselves at home. And that's already exploded after the Texas Heartbeat Act. There's a lot more of that going on, and there is absolutely no prohibition against that. There's no law against that. Up to the moment of birth, a mother has a legal right under Texas law to do that because that's the way we've written our laws here in Texas. So that's a giant loophole that needs to be closed, and the way that we close it is by providing equal protection. So the same laws that protect you and me, the same homicide laws, we don't need new laws to protect babies before they're born. We need to just take the law that we already have to protect them. In fact, we already define them as being individual persons from fertilization, Texas Penal Code 1.07. We have a homicide code, Chapter 19 of our penal code, but then we have 19.06 in our Texas Penal Code that provides an exception that allows for abortion by the mother, by a physician, and by others. You protect others. Justice system. We believe a fetus is a person, we need to act like it. And that's what equal protection is. So we should not be partial in judgment. God says that he hates partiality in judgment. He hates unequal weights and measures, right? He wants us to treat each other how we want to be treated. That's not just biblical, that's constitutional. The 14th Amendment says no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Do we believe a fetus is a person? If so, then we are constitutionally mandated to provide them with the same protection of the same laws that protect our lives. We have existing ability right now. I know some people are saying, well, but the pro-choice counties, they're not going to enforce these laws. You know what? Even if they didn't, we should still do them. It's still the right thing to do to provide justice under our laws, even if they don't get enforced. But actually, we have a venue provision that provides that for children who are injured, you can not only prosecute them in the county where the injury occurs and also where the defendant resides, but you can also prosecute them in the county where the perpetrator is apprehended. Meaning that if someone in Travis County if an abortionist commits an abortion in Travis County DA says, I'm not going to prosecute, okay, but the moment they set foot out of Travis County, now any other county in Texas can arrest that abortion provider and prosecute them in that county, and that's under existing law. I know there's a lot of questions that we have. We have a pamphlet that I know many of you already have that's been passed around. If you need one of those, let me know. But we have an FAQ section that addresses questions like, is every mother going to get the death penalty? What about mothers in medical emergencies? Things like that. And I'd encourage you, if you have those now, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you, in the interest of time, I direct you to our pamphlet as well. But thank you very much for the service of the committee here.
Thank you very much for questions. Yes, please.
Could you just clarify, in the post-Roe world, will physicians be held accountable, or is there a loophole for them as well?
So under the current trigger bill here in Texas, physicians will be prohibited, criminally prohibited, from doing an abortion. Now, it's not quite equal protection because it makes it first-degree murder, whereas if you were to kill any other child under 10 years old, it could be capital murder. But it is, pretty strong criminal prohibition against physicians.
But if they prescribed a pill to kill the fetus, they probably would not fall under that.
Probably not.
Because the mother is taking the pill.
Right, the mother's the one who's actually using it to cause the abortion. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a good question here. We'll just come around the horn, please.
Quick question. Is Texas one of the many states that actually, if you accidentally or intentionally kill a pregnant person, it's 2 counts of murder?
Yes.
Right, so under current Texas law, if you were to, intentionally or even recklessly, like if you're a drunk driver or something like that, if you were to kill a Texas mother who is pregnant and her baby dies, then it's double homicide under Texas law, and you could be, if you did it intentionally, then absolutely, you could be tried for 2 counts of murder for that.
Excellent.
And we're already there, right? We're already treating a fetus like a person to that point. Why don't we go all the way and treat everyone, require everyone to comply with the law?
Question.
I actually have 2 questions. The first one is you talked about they're ordering on Amazon, those pills. My question on that is how are we going to monitor that? And then my second question is I'm kind of confused about which one you're going to punish and just clarifying. Are you punishing the provider, the person who did the abortion, or are you for punishing the mother?
Well, what I'm for is not really about punishment. It's about what do our laws say? Who do our laws protect and how do they protect them? And they should protect them equally. As far as who gets punished, that's really the role of the justice system. So we're here talking about legislative priorities. So we're here talking about what should the law be. Well, the Constitution says we should have equal protection of the laws. Then it's up to our justice system, our law enforcement, prosecutors, grand juries, trial judges, appellate courts, even the governor who can commute sentences or pardon people, right? That whole justice system that exists to protect our lives, that's there to consider every single case on a case-by-case basis. And yes, some cases shouldn't be prosecuted. Some cases, mothers should get immunity, right? Everyone should be considered on a case-by-case basis, just like with any other homicide of any other person.
But he is saying it's a homicide.
Right.
I'm saying that could a mother be prosecuted, under equal protection? Yes. Should they? I mean, that depends on the facts, and that depends on what the jury thinks in that particular case, or whether the prosecutor chooses to bring charges at all.
And then question here, please.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Linda Morris, SC13. I'm a retired OB-GYN of 35 years.
Awesome.
So let me get a little clarity to this. Use the microphone. Yeah. Use the microphone.
So what's going on with the abortion pill is a way to bypass the Texas heartbeat bill. And Planned Parenthood actually promotes this, tells women, hey, if your period is 2 days late, you let us know so we can send you an abortion pill. And that's before they've even done a pregnancy test or you'd even have a positive pregnancy test. So what's going on is in the privacy of women's homes. It should be illegal for them to order these medications online, and the Texas legislature should make this illegal. They're ordering the pills, they're taking them at home, it's not under physician supervision. These ladies stay home, they take the medicine, they're told they're gonna have pain, cramping, and bleeding for 2 to 3 days, and then they'll pass the tissue. So nobody knows this is going on unless they run into complications. And then I see them in the emergency room at 2 o'clock in the morning because now they've been bleeding for 3 days, they're passing out, they're weak, they're hemorrhaging, and they're not going to tell me they took an abortion pill. They're just going to, and they won't even admit they're pregnant. So you have to work up the fact they're pregnant, realize that they're having a miscarriage, and manage the complications from this. So this is all being, so there's nothing to prosecute. This is all being done in the privacy of their own homes. That women are taking this upon themselves. So it's a misconception that you're going to be able to file charges against these women for what's going on because they're going to present that they're just having a miscarriage. And 20% of women have miscarriages. So this is a very common occurrence. So they're not even going to admit that they induced this themselves to abort their babies.
Well, and may I reply to that? there's not going to be 100% perfect, ability to enforce, and there will be plenty of abortions that still take place that cannot be prosecuted, right? We understand that. We can't have perfect enforceability, but our existing law allows for exactly what you're talking about, and I think it should be illegal, right?
Let's not give them the tools
Right.
to go ahead and do the abortion
Exactly.
themselves. So it should be illegal for that medication to be online.
And our current laws say that that's perfectly legal, right? What we're calling for is for our laws to say, no, that's illegal. Now, it may still happen, but it should be illegal, and our laws should deter mothers from doing that.
Okay. Any other questions? I mean, please.
Bradley, I just want to be clear. Your abolish bills do not require a death penalty for a mother.
Correct. Yeah. Ultimately, our bill is not about, some people say, oh, you're criminalizing women, right? It's not about criminalizing women. It's about criminalizing conduct, criminalizing actions, that are criminal. Whether it's the mother, and a lot of times people talk about the mother because that's the one you see going into the clinic, or you see, obviously she's the one most directly that you can see with an abortion, but there's lots of other people who are maybe coercing her, right, who may be encouraging her, who may be, driving her there. Under Texas law, all of those things would be prohibited as well, right? Everyone who's involved with an abortion, everyone who's involved with intentionally, willfully, right, not being forced into it, but willfully causing the death of a child, they should be subject to our laws. And it should be, the justice system should, weigh every one of those cases just like with homicide of any other person.
But in Texas law, the child under 10 years is capital murder.
Correct.
So can you describe what the consequences or penalties for capital murder is in Texas?
Yeah, so if a prosecutor chose to prosecute a mother for capital murder, and a grand jury chose to indict, and then a trial jury chose to convict, and then after hearing all the mitigating evidence and aggravating, to then sentence, and then an appellate court upheld that, and then the governor chose not to commute or pardon that person, then yes, capital punishment is a possibility at the end of that road that requires near unanimous consent of our entire justice system.
So it's possible.
It's possible.
A woman could receive the
but
death
what is
penalty.
also possible is no prosecution at all. What's also possible is the mothers get immunity for testifying against the abortionist. What's also possible is that prosecutors could charge for child endangerment, which could even get deferred adjudication, could get community service, could get 1 day in jail. All of those things are possible, but those are that's the whole wide range of penalties that's possible for homicide of any of us. Why would we deny that kind of protection to children before they're born?
But it is capital murder in Texas to kill a child under the age of 10.
It can be charged as
Okay.
as a capital felony.
That's
correct.
all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. But it does not require that.
Is this on?
Yes.
Bradley, thank you for being here, and thank you for the work that Abolish Abortion does, your whole organization.
Thank you.
But what I want to say is, yes, killing a child under 10 is a capital offense. And all of those things are possible. But what they are more than anything to me is a deterrent that may stop these mothers that think it's just okay. I'll have an abortion, and I'll have another, and I'll have another, and I'll have another, because equal protection will provide a deterrent for these children being willfully killed.
Right.
That's just what I want to say.
Yeah, the point is not to punish.
Right.
The point is to save lives.
Stop it.
To stop
Yes,
it.
just
That's
to
right.
stop the murder.
Any other questions at all? Okay, here. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, forgive me. Let's go here, and then we're going to come over here.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Very convincing presentation. I do think, to clarify, as you said, your version creates opportunity for taking the mother for capital murder. So saying that. I believe it's murder as well, But I also believe we have an entire generation plus of young ladies that believe abortion is natural, that they have been taught in school by their parents, they've been conditioned to accept abortion as an option. It's wrong, and that's what we're fighting against, and that's what we're moving toward. I think if we take this big jump here, we're going to get so much of the public against us that we're going to lose ground again. And so I think, I love what you're saying. I believe what you're saying. I think it's a step too far. I believe you've got to consider what the generation of kids have come up through. They don't know it's murder. Not all of them, but a lot of them don't. They don't perceive it that way. They still perceive it as tissue. And they're wrong, but that's what a lot of these young ladies have been taught. And somewhere in here, we've got to have compassion, and we've got to show love, and we've got to help them move from where they are mentally today away from that. We can punish them, but that doesn't change their mind.
Can I briefly reply to that?
Actually, I'm going to keep, we have some questions here, and if I'm stating how much time we have left, and by the time we're done with Mr. Pierce here, we're going to have like time for 2 people. No, I'm joking. Okay, let's go over here, and then we'll come back.
I'm going to keep this really brief. By criminalizing abortion, what does this do? And obviously the goal here is not punishment, but prevention. What is this going to do to people who've had abortions in the past, and now that's a criminal act, whereas when they had it done, it was legal? Is the goal to then try to prosecute previous abortions?
No. In fact, the abolition, he asked us if we could go backwards to prosecute prior abortions. First of all the abolition bills that have been introduced prohibit that. Texas law, Constitution prohibits ex post facto laws. The U.S. Constitution prohibits that, so there's absolutely no way that anyone is even seeking that, or even if they were, that was a possibility. So thank you for your question.
Okay, anybody else? Please.
Yes. So I went back just a second ago. I went back and I looked for the last 10 years of how many murders had been committed in the state of Texas for the last 10 years, stopped with 2021. There were 13,390. We have Abolish Abortion does not mean that every one of these cases are going to go up as a capital murder charge. Now, I know that some of you lately, and I don't know who was saying this a while ago, I think it was one of the speakers, lately, in the last few months, I've been noticing on Facebook these women that are getting on Facebook and glorifying the killing of their children. Have y'all seen that? If we do not do something now to make it a deterrent to kill children, because that's what we're doing. I'm sorry that these kids have been led astray to think that this is just tissue, that they don't know they're murdering children. But if we do not take a firm stand, when are they going to learn it? It's getting more and more out in the open, these women glorifying killing. These are babies that they're killing, babies. And I think it's time that we just say enough is enough. We had Abolish Abortion as a priority last go-round, and I didn't see a groundswell of opposition in the public against us for doing it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Just because it's Abolish Abortion does not mean that every single person is going to be tried on a capital murder charge. That is a false narrative that has been put out by the left. We dealt with this when it came, 2 sessions ago, I think it was, when this was, when Tony Tinderholt basically got crucified in the press. That was a false narrative being put out by the left to stop the killing of children, basically. Right. And we need to be bold. We're at a time in our history that we have got to be bold and stand up for what's true and what is right.
That's right. And we do have an entire generation that has been educated to say that this is a clump of tissue and that this is not murder. How do we change their minds? Passing a law. The law is a tutor. That's what the Bible says. So we pass the law, and then yes, their state of mind at the time of committing the act can all be considered by the jury. There's even a defense called mistake of fact. That is, if someone doesn't know a particular fact, they really believe that it is a clump of tissues, then they have a defense to prosecution, because in order to be guilty of an act, you have to know what you're doing. And so that's something that is absolutely something that can be brought up and be considered by our justice system. But the way that we change people's minds and teach them that it is murder is by passing a law that says that it is.
I think my microphone's on. Mine's more of a statement than a question. I'm in private practice now, but in a prior life for 14 years, I was a prosecutor. I worked as an ADA. In 14 years, I never saw a capital murder case. And the reason is it's incredibly labor intensive and expensive and taxing on the prosecutor's office and the taxpayers of whatever county that is to prosecute a capital murder. It goes to a whole new level. So I think it's right. I think you're right when you say there's not going to be many, if any, prosecuted as a capital murder.
Thank you.
One more question.
In other words, to your point, where you're saying we have to stand up and stop being afraid of what the Democrats may think about this and everything like that. And then to the point after that is to make sure that as the GOP here in Texas, that we make sure the rest of the story gets told, that the truth comes out about how many prosecutions have actually happened. Get the story out. Don't sit at home. Don't watch them play the games. Put it out there so it can be prosecuted and defend it.
Thank you.
Mr. Pierce, thank you so much for your testimony.